All right. It is 6:31. It is December 12th. It is CPI Tuesday. Hope everyone's feeling well. We got a little green markets around the world. A little bit of follow through to the recent gains, as you know, we're just trying to net money and move along. My name is Scott Ruther. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Welcome to the 630 Club, where we try and make some money every day, approach the market with a plan, use multiple time frames to use these stock markets to put money away for the long term, maybe put your kids through college, and maybe even get paid monthly and quarterly for a living, because that's what a lot of people who tune in here do, with an active approach. Lots of different approaches. You just got to pick one that's good for you and work on it. Some days are good, some days are bad. That's why you got to make sure you just have your process to keep your sanity, because sometimes, you know, it's easy to lose your sanity. Anyway, we do have the CPI today at 8:30, so I got to be a little careful. At this point, S&P futures are up 405, Europe's up, Asia's finally getting the bounce, and we'll see where we are. Someone's like, Red Dog, what do you think is going to be the CPI? I'm like, well, you know, I think, you know, gas has been down for 6-7 weeks. I know, used cars are down, and it feels as if the housing market came in a little bit. So I would think the CPI shouldn't be hot, but, you know, we shall see. At this point, you know, we look at trends, we look at active trends, and, you know, the SPYs are just making their way. So if you do come in long multiple positions prior to 6:30, you always want to trim and trail a little bit. You know, here are the SPYs. You know, SPYs are up 25 cents, 462 and a quarter, a little bit above 462.16. We're not quite overbought. I've seen us plus 70 on the oscillator, or plus like 27. So, you know, if we do get a cool CPI, they could definitely push things a little bit higher. As far as, you know, the weekly chart, oops, that's a 2-minute chart. Anyone use a 2-minute chart? We do during the day. You know, here's the weekly, you know, high in from 2022. That's 479. So just poking above the summer high. So there is some room. You know, oh, remember this candlestick? Look at the size of that. That took away these 2 weeks. That set the tone for the move. Well, anyway, so moving along. And then you go to the Qs. All right, so the Qs made a new high. And, you know, for me, I'll tell you, you guys want to hear honesty? Well, yesterday was a crappy day for Red Dog. Why was yesterday a crappy day for Red Dog? Because I had a lot of the Magnificent Seven that went out pretty set up on Friday. And if you remember yesterday, I said to you guys, I'm like, guys, a friend of mine who plays the rebalance game sent me a note that that something happened over the weekend where they're like, okay, you know, there's too much concentration of these 7 stocks in the NASDAQ 100, you know, that they have to be rebalanced and a percentage has to be sold blindly. That's why when at 9:25, you know, when the markets, you know, when the sell imbalances came out, you know, Apple got hit hard, Google got hit hard, Amazon got hit hard. You know, they sold Nvidia, they sold basically all of them. And guess who was long all of them? Who has 2 thumbs and was long all of them? Anyway, so I tried to be smart. I did sell some things, you know, into, you know, in the morning to reduce, and I didn't buy anything. Like if I didn't know that, if I didn't have the heads up, and if I didn't try and give you the heads up, you know, with the futures down a little bit after a strong close on Friday, I would have been buying all of them to go red to green. So at least that held off, and then I bought some more options. And, you know, yesterday wasn't a fun day. It is what it is. Today, next. Anyway, so here's where the Qs close. Could have been worse. I know guys that were long all these things, got the news, started shorting NASDAQ futures on Sunday night, and all of a sudden trying to be smart and prudent, and then all of a sudden, you know, the Magnificent Seven stocks got hit, and then the Qs were up $3. So imagine trying to be prudent and losing on your longs and then losing on your hedges and losing everywhere. You know, that means you'd start drinking on a Monday night instead of a Thursday. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so that's why it happens. It happens. So with that being said, the Qs are up 64 cents above this high. 1, 2, always trim into some strength, especially when you have an 830 number. And the trend is strong, though, guys. Strong, you know, strong trends. And hopefully you're making some money on all different time frames. The IWMs look pretty set up for another move. A lot of money's been made since that first CPI back in November. And look at this. Oh, above the 8-day moving average this entire time. And now we'll see if a cool CPI, clears this 188. And you still have a big quadrant here that can be filled up. And guess what? This could be filled up, and then who knows what happens even next year? Like next year, all of a sudden, I don't know if it's going to happen, but here's the top of this 2-year range. If you remember, we were here over the summer, and that was before rates peaked and inflation peaked. And now, with that being said, so if you're shorting the small caps just because, I don't know why you would do that, especially if you listen to the 630 Club or you're part of Red All Access. You've probably been making money here, riding the trend, and again above the 8-day. So this is a pretty big spot. And then the question is, will it pause there and then actually break above it? If that happens, we'll have a lot of different individual stocks to play. So be optimistic. As long as these setups keep showing up, you know what? You got to take them and go. Take them and go, net money, get paid. Anyway, so here's another bull type flag, and we'll see if cool CPI continues, hot CPI, maybe it tests the 8-day or this area. We shall see. Other sectors, are still trading decent. I did sell my XBI into this red dog reversal yesterday. I was a little bit too tied up to buy a dip. I wanted to buy into the 77.50. I didn't. I think there will be a good setup in the bios in January. Just got to reset up in there. Somebody said, "Hey, Red Dog, could you take a look at gold?" Gold is, this was very predatory. I feel bad for the, my golden friends. Actually, I don't really feel bad. You guys had a great year. If you were buying, every month or whatever. Bottom line is, though, if you were playing a good, clean breakout, which it looked like, and you were so excited that weekend, they just lambasted you. But here you are at the 50-day, so you would think that this could be a spot. I know yesterday I sent out a tweet that I bought a little bit of GLD options for Friday just in case. I don't know, just in case it could get some kind of bounce off the CPI or the Fed tomorrow. And then I also bought some 192.40s for the last week in January. Which one is that? That is January. Here we go. I think, what is it, 26th? Anyway, just nibbling. Everyone's like, oh, Red Dog, like you guys all loved gold a week ago saying it's going to go 3,000. Now I'm buying a dip, and you're telling me that, I should be waiting. Anyway, it's up a little bit today, but again, this is not going to do anything for options. This is just, 66 cents, 184. If you went long the GLD and didn't go with options, this low here is what? This is 184.90. That would fill that gap. Whereas now it's not quite there. So I like to do a little drawing with this. This is my little gap drawing. And anyway, that's that. This was yesterday's high. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Just something to do. You got to find things to do that are responsible. So I thought I was pretty responsible, doing what I did over the weekend. I'm like, we closed strong on the Qs and the SPYs. I was looking for follow through. I was looking for decent patterns that could continue. I should have just went with the indices. But anyway, so here's Apple. Not the end of the world, got hit hard. Apple's got one of the biggest buybacks, so it has one of the biggest selling balances. What does that mean? It means that Apple buys back its own stocks to reduce the float, and if funds are buying it, all of a sudden they have a reduced float, they have too big of a percentage, so when there's a rebalance, they have a forced sell, and then usually it's fine. But anyway, this is yesterday's low, 191.42. I am not in Apple this morning. I'll see what happens in the first half hour. I did, though, buy more calls just in case when this is over this week, it gets a push into the end of the year above the prior high here. Anyway, I also had a lot of Amazon. Overall, though, Amazon took yesterday in stride, meaning, came off lows. I actually made money in Amazon. I came in long Amazon. Amazon got hit. I waited. I bought. I massaged it. Wound up being pretty good. And I also bought 150 calls for what? For the 29th. So 2 weeks for Amazon to break above that spot. They also don't have a huge buyback, so they weren't as sold like a Microsoft. Microsoft was sold a lot because they have a big buyback. Anyway, Microsoft also, I could say not horrible, held this 366 area, so still in decent shape. But I would let it breathe today. What's it doing this morning? Probably down a little bit. Where's Microsoft? Microsoft, Mr. Softy. It's up 80 cents. Anyway, so not so horrible. Again, you want to hear something funny, which wasn't really funny. So I trade the semis, you know, and I also am the chief strategic officer. And I don't know if I did in the 630 club yesterday, but I put like 5 really good semiconductor charts, you know, out there, you know, because that's what I do, you know, so give you guys setups to make money. So LRCX was one of them. Okay, LRCX. Okay, come on, Red Dog. LRCX. What's the matter with me? LRCX. Now look at that move. Guys like, Red Dog, thank you so much. Sometimes I don't play these. I have too much going on, but that was a nice move and probably continues. You know what, another one? Avago. Avago I had many times. Avago, I listed it when I re-cleared this 925, saying it's on its way to 999 and more. Big move. Was Red Dog in there? No, I wasn't in either one of those two. But if you go to like Redler Premium, okay, which every morning I put 30 charts in there. So you go all the way to yesterday, okay, just to show you, like, to just everyone. Sometimes I put, you know, charts out there and this and that on what's it called, in the public Twitter. But every morning I do, you know, probably about 30 charts, right? And you know, and so Vago is there, you know, LRCX was there, and a bunch of other ones were there. So just the funny thing is, funny thing happened on the way to yesterday's trading. I wound up going home along NVIDIA because NVIDIA looked pretty good, right? Kind of looked like Avago did a little bit, you know, without this candle, cleared this downtrend. I'm like, you know what, NVIDIA might be on its way back. And guess what? NVIDIA was a pain in the butt yesterday. Thank goodness I got out of a lot of it pre-market while I was up, but wound up losing money there. It still is having a little problems here in NVIDIA. Okay, I was in AMD, a lot of AMD, and then I got out of it thinking it would pause here. I didn't go back to it, and that had a rock star day. And instead I had to work and sweat ARM, you know, which is still fine. ARM to me still looks good. It's a little choppy the way it trades. You know, I was in it on Thursday, added to it. Yesterday I actually traded around it pretty good. Made some decent money buying the dip, but it wasn't easy. So again, so yesterday was like a friggin' Monday working day. I came in with NVIDIA and ARM instead of Avago, AMD, and LRCX. And I had the Magnificent 7, which were not so magnificent yesterday. So at least I ran a good cornhole tournament to raise money for the Milburn High School. So with that being said, it happens. These things happen. You know, sometimes like my fault. Remember I said, you know, my fault. If you admit it's your fault, then you make changes and you do better. Sometimes it's just not your fault. It's situational, and you just have to adjust to what happens, right? It's not your fault if you get, just say, you know, what do you just say, 2 6s against the 6 in blackjack. I don't know if you're supposed to split those. And you split them, and then you get a 5 and a 5. You're like, oh my God, I got, you know, an 11 and 11 versus a 6. I got to double down. Then you double down on this 11, you get a 4. You double down on this 11, you get a 5. Now all of a sudden you have crap hands, and he has a chance to bust. And then he turns over a 4 underneath and gets a face card and takes all your money. You did the right thing. You split, you double down, you use the odds, and you still lose. Move on. Anyway, so with that being said, I still like this ARM. I'm in it. I bought the dip, and you know, same way it was really choppy in here. Maybe it's just the way it trades. Some guys like Red Dog, what do you think about Path? You've been talking about it. Well, I did have a lot of options going into earnings and made good money, and now it does feel like it's set up again. You would think that this should be able to, in a strong market, have a big gap up, hold the 8-day, maybe be able to buy it above 24.67 and 25.47 for another play. I'm in this stock, I'm in options, and some people are like, well, Red Dog, you're chasing it here. I'm like, not really. You look at the weekly chart of Path, and that you have a beautiful bull flag. You have this whole friggin' void here, just to 45 where it broke down from here, or 56 or 67 or 80. So I don't think we're chasing it here. I think it's a good setup, trying to stay with it. So I'm just putting it out there for you prior, because so many times, like, you guys, Red Dog, you know, you're telling us after the fact. I'm like, that's not true. Remember, Square, on this day is when I bought a lot of Square, and I bought a lot of options. Okay, and Square, you know, after it went to the 200 day, everyone was like, wow, you were done with it. I'm like, why would you sell it here? There's still some room, which there was, and if you look at the weekly chart, Square is really nowhere, right? I think Square can get up to the 80 area, maybe even here. Look where it broke down from back in the day. So sometimes you got to look at the daily, the weekly, line them all up, and stay with the sequence as long as you can, if possible. Granted, use your size and your tier system, but anyway. So I still think Square, can get up to this 80 or maybe even more. But anyway, I'm long small. I don't have as much as I had during that move. So we'll see how it goes. Bitcoin corrected a little bit. This still didn't come in much. So I still think not this is like it's not like Mara and Coin and those guys that trade with uh, Bitcoin, but psychologically for some reason it likes to go when Bitcoin goes. Anyway, so talking about Bitcoin did give you a little bit of a pullback, which was good. People wanted a pullback in Bitcoin, right? What a friggin' sick move that thing had. Hopefully you've been accumulating it monthly, which we talked about for the past few years. And if you traded actively, really nice move above the 8-day. So what am I thinking now? I just think it's going to have to pack and fill a little bit. Look at the size of this move. This was a nice move. And guess what? Just like momentum names in the equity markets, anything that's above the 21-day, which is why I put out so many, lessons on it, you can be long it actively, right? And that right here is when it went above 28,000, went all the way into the, 30 somethings, and then consolidated again, took out 38, and went as high as 45, and now just needs time. Needs time to consolidate a big move. I'm hoping maybe we get a pullback towards 38-ish, and that could be a good viable pullback if you're looking for it. We'll see. Coin actually held in there pretty well, believe it or not, overall. Why? Because, okay, it held the 8-day. Okay, but I'd be careful here. Most guys that I know, when I listed this a bunch of times, bought it at 88 or 100, or even when it cleared this prior peak. That's a move. It's a nice move. You catch a sequence like this can make your quarter, can make your year. So I'm just saying, you find a nice active sequence, you learn how it trades, you use a tier system, you buy dips, you add through the price areas, you sell some strength, you buy some back, and if it trades really well, nothing better than that. And this actually has been really good. So there are people that like to focus on the equity type of stocks that correlate to Bitcoin. But I did really well in this one. I didn't do as well in that one. I kind of avoided it. But anyway, it is what it is. So here we are at 6:49. You have the CPI at 8:30. You have the Fed tomorrow. Market's been on a tear. If you've been fighting this move, praying for bad news, you know what? You're not doing the right thing, and that's not the way to live life anyway. Praying for bad news because you're caught short. What kind of guy are you, or girl, or whatever pronoun? Anyway, what you want to do is you don't want to fight moves. You don't want to fight it on the downside either. You just want to ride the trends. If you're actively trading the markets, and how do you do that? When something's above the 21-day, you try and be in a portfolio approach. You try and use your process, and you make money. If it's market's below, which it was here, you're out of the way, right? It's below it. You're not trying to catch a falling knife. You're trying to be a little tactical. Tactical from here to there. Portfolio approach from here all the way up. You never know how long it's going to last. Okay, and you don't have to have the same amount of exposure to every leg or every part of the sequence, right? But anyway, so we'll see what happens today. A little bit of a softer CPI probably extends one more time. A hot CPI would be a little bit of a surprise, and then you'll have to see how it goes. I'm in the same boat. I have a bunch of longs still left, a lot of options on, so I'm here to manage it also, and trying to let yesterday be yesterday, today be today, tomorrow be tomorrow, and be happy you have all those things because not everybody does. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll see how things shake out, and enjoy life, because you know what? When they call your number, hopefully up there, not down there, they never discriminate.